When asking whether witches really existed, we first need to define who we're actually talking about. If we're thinking of pop culture, the green-skinned women flying on broomsticks, turning people into frogs, the answer is no. Magic that breaks the laws of physics belongs in fairy tales, not history. But if we're talking about people who were accused, tortured, and executed, the answer is yes, they were real. And their story is one of the darkest chapters in human history. In our imagination, a witch is a symbol of evil. Historical facts, however, show that they were victims, not perpetrators. Who were these people? Most often, they were women practicing herbal medicine, folk healers, or midwives. In a time when medicine was a luxury for the wealthy, they provided care in rural communities. They had knowledge of how to ease pain or assist with childbirth. Unfortunately, that knowledge was a double-edged sword. When a treatment worked, it was considered a miracle. When a patient died, accusations of curses followed immediately. It's worth debunking a major myth here. Witch hunts were not a phenomenon of the Dark Ages. The greatest hysteria erupted in the early modern period, during the Renaissance and Baroque eras. People were being burned at the stake at the same time geniuses like Newton and Galileo were alive. Another myth is blaming the Holy Inquisition. The fact is, church courts were often milder. Secular courts, under pressure from the crowd, were far quicker to hand down death sentences. We need to understand that a witch was the perfect scapegoat. When livestock died, milk went sour, or hail destroyed crops, ordinary people sought someone to blame. It was easier to accuse a lonely, disliked neighbor of making a pact with the devil than to accept nature's whims or poor hygiene. Trials were also brutal tools for settling personal scores, ways to seize a widow's property or eliminate competition. And while most victims were women, reflecting the biases of the time, men and even children were also executed. Witches existed, but they weren't fairy tale sorceresses wielding dark powers. They were real, flesh-and-blood people, often intelligent, independent, and sometimes mentally ill or socially marginalized, who became victims of human fear and fanaticism.